The Matchgirl Strike of 1888.
In 1888, many of the women working at the Bryant and May match factory in London started to get tired and fed up with the conditions they were working in. Sarah Chapman and Annie Besant were two of the main people who committed to the freedom of women and their rights. Women were working endless hours a week, and they were being worn out and infected with sicknesses. Altogether, the Matchgirl strike was a groundbreaking beginning for the women's rights movement. Bryant and May, a matchmaking company in East London, caused many women of all ages to go against the rules and riot against working and matchmaking. The women spent countless hours in the factory making and packaging the matches for the company. The women were punished for simple mistakes, such as dropping a match. After an interview with Sarah Chapman's great-granddaughter, Sam Johnson, and her husband, Graham Johnson, more information was given to support the facts.
Well, about the the very low pay, they're just only paid a few shillings a week, and that they had unfair fines that were imposed on them when they dropped a match, or if they came to work late, or if they went to the toilet without asking, things like that. And also if they weren't very happy or got into trouble, the foremen were quite brutal and could sometimes just hit them, apparently. And if they tried to complain, the foreman never passed on the complaints to the management. So the management never got to hear about how unhappy they all were. And of course, on top of everything, they had to cope with the hideous effects of white phosphorus on their health that could cause osteonecrosis, which was commonly known as fuzzy jaw. So
the matches were made using phosphorus, which eventually was found to be a cancerous and caused a disease called fuzzy jaw. The basics of this disease were facial disfiguration and potential brain damage. Parts of the jaw rotted and multiple teeth fell out. A young girl at the age of 16, named Cornelia, is highlighted in an article written by James Rushmore Wood, an American surgeon, about her diagnosis of fuzzy jaw. She worked at Bryant and May for 2 years and was one of the many people who unfortunately obtained the disease. Cornelia was issued to have her lower right side of her jaw removed. Overall, the factory caused horrific events to happen to all the women working in the Bryant and May factory, and the overall discriminatory actions of the factory caused many women to lose their life or lose their positive aspects of life.
The Matchgirl strike of 1888 was known as one of the first strikes that led to women's rights. Hardworking women in the factories were treated every day with cruelty. A woman by the name of Annie Besant took a glimpse of the condition and treatment of the girls' factory and was willing to help them put together a strike. Shortly after, the women also received a helping hand from the press and public. The public had assisted the women with money that would later aid the following women that were involved in the strike. Women viewed the factory as an entry to death because of the dangerous white fumes and severe working conditions. The white fumes caused these women to maintain a jaw disease that would later kill them since they received no treatment for it. Due to this, most women were on board for protesting so that they may retain equal rights and the ability to continue living rather than dying in a factory.
A quote from Annie Besant's friend, Victor Hugo, states, "I will speak for the dumb.
I will speak of the small to the great, and the feeble to the strong. I will speak for all the despairing silent ones.
Following the women's success, the first union of laboring workers who had gone on a strike for better pay and working conditions in London became especially significant for the entire world because it had been the first women-conducted strike that had also come out successful. It then created a bigger impact on the world as other organizations came together to form their strikes. In the modern day, a plaque was made in memory of all the women of the factory who had put their lives on the line to make better working conditions for themselves. That plaque is located at the site of the former Bryant and May factory in East London, where almost 1,400 women walked out of there to protest for their rights.
This event was a huge turning point and had such a great influence on women's rights. It allowed for more women to be seen and also encouraged other women to stand up against other mistreatments. This event also created much more women's rights and laws allowing women to participate in more events around the world.
Modern Day Remembrances advised by Sam Johnson.
Graham and I realised there were no statues to the Matchgirls or memorials at all when we first discovered that Sarah was my great-grandmother back in 2016. And we just started to kind of get interested and do more research into it. But then after a couple of years, we thought there needs to be a statue. There needs to be memorials to these wonderful girls and women. And so that's why we started this charitable organisation, the Matchgirls Memorial, specifically to raise awareness, to through education, but also to raise funds to get them a statue ultimately. But along the way, we've managed to be to get other memorials as well. There's now a blue plaque to the Matchgirls on the old factory. There's two social housing blocks opening this year in London, one called Mary Driscoll House, one called Sarah Chapman House. So we're getting them memorialised through buildings. We're speaking to some developers who are going to incorporate the Matchgirls names into their new developments in street names and building names. So, slowly but surely we are getting them remembered more and more in the East End and talking to local schools about them. But ultimately we really want to get them a statue, and that's what our ultimate aim is. So in the next few years, that's what we hope to do.
Located at the Matchgirl Memorial, organized by their ancestors and trusted individuals who are experts and well-educated people who are familiar with its history.
At first, the owners of the factory stated that they would not give in to the demands, and if the women wanted to leave, they could. Although these women had faced terrible circumstances, they were able to put an end to it within 3 weeks. Finally, the owners were willing to give in to their demands by ending fines and re-employing those who had originally left the strike. It was truly a